Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning. Right now at 5 today, House managers will lay out their case against former President Donald Trump after starting Tuesday's debate with an emotional video of the riots at the Capitol. County leaders get an optimistic update on the budget after making a plan to save millions of dollars, why that might not be necessary now. Coming up. Plus, teachers and families in the Kern River Valley rally to open our schools as negotiations continue at the state level. This is Wednesday, February 10th, 2021. Good morning. Good to have you with us. I'm Maddie Jansen, anchoring from here at home. Alex Fisher is in studio. And it was another beautiful day here in the mountains yesterday with that sunshine, Alex. I know you guys had a lot of cloud cover, though, down in the valley. Still waiting on some rain, though.
Yeah, it was a beautiful day here in the valley. And actually, one thing I noticed yesterday as I was driving home was some trees, and I want to make sure that I make this point. Some trees are actually starting to blossom in the early stages of that. So that was a sight that I'm not used to, at least during this time of year. Let's turn things over to Kevin Charette because, of course, we're still in the first part of February, and I'm already seeing signs of spring, Kev.
Yeah, I don't know my trees, but the blooming pear is one of the earliest to shed blooms in the early part of or the late part of the season or so. But yeah, I was driving around as well, Alex, and I could see. I think they're the blooming pear. I think that's what they're called. Again, don't quote me on that. But yesterday wasn't a bad day. We did see some clouds around Kern County, just a thin layer. Today, though, you're going to see more sunshine, so that is some good news, and temperature still will be on the mild side, and you can see the clouds that push through overnight, and now we're under the clear conditions. Take you to downtown Bakersfield, the beautiful Padre Hotel, and we've got a temperature right now of 50 degrees, an east wind at 5, so light out there. As we take a look at the temperatures throughout the day, you can see mid-60s will return for us, and then we take a look at the Tehachapi area, starting out at 39, under a calm wind right now, and hour by hour, you can see those 50s will return throughout the afternoon. So overall, not a bad forecast. We are still tracking some rain. We'll talk more about that coming up in just a little bit. Back over to you.
Kev, thanks so much. It is day 2 of former President Trump's impeachment trial, and today the prosecution begins building a case that Trump incited last month's attack on the U.S. Capitol. Tracy Potts has the latest from Washington.
Good morning, Alex. Good morning, everyone. Democrats say their case will present cold, hard facts, not only about the speech former President Trump gave before that riot at the Capitol on January 6th. They'll also argue that he spent weeks laying the groundwork for that attack. This afternoon, House managers begin laying out their case against former President Trump after starting Tuesday's debate with an emotional video aiming to connect Mr. Trump to the January 6th riot at the Capitol.
If that's not an impeachable offense, then there is no such thing.
The lead impeachment manager recalling his daughter was there that day.
She said, "Dad, I don't want to come back to the Capitol."
Trump's defense calling Democrats overly dramatic.
They don't need to show you movies to show you that the riot happened here.
But effective.
We changed what we were going to do on account that we thought that the House manager's presentation was well done.
Most Republicans backed the defense.
President Trump's attorneys made a pretty strong case for dismissal.
But one Trump attorney admitted last night his colleague seemed disorganized.
Today he hadn't planned on going, and so I'm sure that they'll be very well prepared in the future.
In the end, 6 Republicans agreed it is constitutional to try a former president.
They made a compelling argument.
But will 11 more vote to convict?
Presidents can't inflame insurrection in their final weeks and then walk away like nothing happened.
We shall stand in adjournment until noon tomorrow.
It's an uphill battle with the Trump defense arguing this entire trial is political. Expect at least 8 hours of arguments a day. Both sides getting a couple of days to present their case. Then senators can ask questions. It's looking like this trial could stretch into early next week. I'm Tracy Potts, 17 News.
Here at home, county leaders say they do not need to reduce the budget because revenue for the fiscal year is forecast to be higher than expected. Chief Administrative Officer Ryan Alsop presented a budget status report to the Board of Supervisors yesterday. He says the revenue increase is because of one-time payment property taxes from the California Resources Corporation, as well as better than expected sales tax and transient occupancy tax revenue. The counties prepared a budget contingency plan to save up to $27 million if needed, but supervisors said they don't need to implement it as of now. The city of Arvin took the next step toward a navigation center for the homeless last night. Mayor Olivia Trujillo says they've identified a property at 130 Bear Mountain Boulevard, but until funding's secure, the city will only offer meals to the homeless beginning February 22nd. Trujillo says she has enlisted the help of Share On and Labors of the Harvest from Taft to help serve meals daily.
In your 17 Crime Watch this morning, BPD is looking for a man accused of stealing at a local market. BPD released these pictures of the suspect. Take a look. The department says this man allegedly stole from the Jalisco's meat market on Panama Lane. If you have any information, you're asked to call police at 327-7111. And a nursing assistant now faces 24 charges in a workers' compensation fraud investigation. The district attorney's office announced Ava McLean faces 24 felony counts for allegedly lying about injuries and filing compensation claims while she worked at Bakersfield Heart Hospital. The DA's office says she also committed insurance fraud that cost two victims $170,000. She's due back in court next month. The families of two people killed by a suspected drunk driver in a crash are both asking for help with donations. GoFundMe pages were made for Saul Munoz and Guadalupe Aguilar. Both died January 31st in a triple car crash at Union Avenue and Brundage Lane. The donation page says Aguilar leaves behind 4 children who need financial support. The children of Saul Munoz are now asking for donations to transport his body to Mexico so he can be laid to rest with his mother and father. Links to both GoFundMe pages can be found at kget.com. The suspected driver, Jesus Moran Mendoza, pleaded not guilty to his charges.
Education news this morning. Lake Isabella residents gathered yesterday for an Open Our Schools rally, urging state and county leaders to allow in-person learning to return. Dozens of students, families, and teachers showed up, with some calling on Governor Gavin Newsom to get rid of the state's tiered reopening system. Many of the signs at the rally read 329 days, showcasing the amount of time students have been out of the classroom. The rally was organized by 8th grader Kaylin Whitman, who says being out of school has impacted her mental health.
We want to be back in school. We really want to, but we want to be back in safely. I was almost a straight A student. I had A's and B's. I like doing extracurriculars. I do sports, and I think that being taken away from me, it puts a lot of stress because that's how I get out my stress. Softball, basketball, cheer. I want to ask people to please wear their masks and social distance because to stop the spread, that will help us get back in school.
Teachers at the rally said they trust their district's reopening team to make safety a top priority when schools do get the green light to allow in-person learning. Stockdale High School has been named champion of the 40th annual Kern County Academic Decathlon. The competition was held virtually this year and made up of 10 events, including art, essay, language, and literature and mathematics. Rounding out the top 3 spots were Stockdale, Arvin, and Frontier. Students David Chamberlain, Carrera Grumling, and Sarah Mendoza finished in first place individually in each of their divisions. Congratulations to that team and all the students involved in that competition. Entertainment news now. Chicago Fire, PD, and Med all return tonight with new episodes. And there's something new for fans, an interactive experience with the actors before the shows air tonight here on TV 17. 17's Tammy Melchak explains.
Chicago Fire, PD, and Med are some of the hottest shows around, but just like everything else, COVID has changed how the characters operate. I recently sat down with some of the stars from Chicago Med to find out how art imitates life.
Oh, we got 2 victims incoming. Elderly couple found unconscious in their home. Both tested negative for COVID in the AMBO.
Things are always bustling at Gaffney Chicago Medical Center, where these dedicated actors work hard to give us a glimpse into the challenges real doctors and nurses face every day.
Well, getting to play a doctor now, I'm definitely learning more about the medical field than I ever thought I would. The utmost respect for actual doctors and nurses who do this.
Hey, I know you're scared, but you can win this fight.
Tori DeVito plays Dr. Natalie Manning. She says she's proud of how the show is handling the COVID-19 pandemic.
I feel like our writers have really just written in COVID and what's going on right now in the world so beautifully into our show. I know that when people watch TV, it's an escape for them. So I do think our writers have done it in a way that is showing a side that maybe not the masses haven't seen yet.
He needs a transplant as soon as possible.
Thank you, Dr. Seisler.
Actress Marlene Barrett says her character, Maggie Lockwood, resonates with viewers and that she's dealt with cancer and organ donation.
I think of ourselves more as servants than actors right now. It's interesting. So when I receive messages on social media and people who are recovering from cancer, recovering from situations, and they hit me up, it's personal to them. It's not just Maggie Lockwood. They text and they say, hey, Marlene, how did you deal with this? How did you do your research? How did your family deal with this? So it becomes very intimate. It's very intimate now.
Oh, sorry. Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning.
Speaking of intimacy, what about the new relationship between Dr. Manning and Dr. Marcel?
So I think it's a really interesting connection, and there is a bit of a push-pull there, and they do have a lot of good chemistry, so we'll see where it takes us.
Now, NBC is inviting you to take part in One Chicago's Fan Fest. Just go to the One Chicago YouTube channel at 2 o'clock our time this afternoon. There you'll have a chance to interact with some of the actors and even play for a chance to win prizes. And coming up tonight on 17 News at 5, my conversation with some of the cast from Chicago PD. Back to you.
And we're back here at 521 making headlines around the nation this morning. Spatial disorientation is what the NTSB believes played a role in the helicopter crash that killed Kobe Bryant and 8 others last year. The NBA legend, his daughter Gianna, and 7 others died January 26th after their helicopter slammed into a hillside in Calabasas. Yesterday, NTSB Chairman Robert Samalt says that spatial disorientation happens when misleading sensations confuse a pilot conducting a visual flight when they can't see. Board advisor Michael Graham says pilot Ara Zaboyan should have avoided adverse weather and diverted, returned to base, or landed the helicopter.
A 6-year-old boy in Arizona got hold of his parents' truck keys yesterday and went for a drive that did not end well. No one was seriously hurt, but the boy wound up crashing the truck into a neighbor's house in suburban Phoenix. Investigators say the boy grabbed the keys from the bathroom while his father was getting dressed, and somehow the 6-year-old drove the truck down the street. He drove through a yard, smashed a power box, ruptured a gas line, and then hit the corner of the home. Someone was sleeping inside and suffered only minor injuries. There was significant damage inside the home, but a family member said she was glad no one was hurt.
I mean, we're just glad that everyone's okay, including the 6-year-old boy. I mean, he's a kid. He didn't know.
The young boy is safely back with his family, and local police say they are not planning to file any charges.
KGET Business Watch is brought to you by Grapevine MSP Technology Services, the Valley's leading IT service provider.
Welcome back. Your time now is 5:25. More Americans may be spending Valentine's Day at home this year, but that doesn't mean it has to be boring. Liz McLaughlin has some ideas.
This year, we can't go to the movies. We can't go out to eat.
This Valentine's Day, whining and dining doesn't have to be off the table.
Romance is alive and well.
OkCupid's dating expert Melissa Hobley recommends making your at-home date special by setting the scene.
You can find fun decor everywhere right now.
And ditching the work-from-home sweats.
Actually take the time to get dressed up, light some candles, put on a dress. What are heels? Has anyone worn heels in a long time? Put on heels,
Learn a new skill together with a cocktail or cooking class. Nona Live mixes in an element of travel with traditional Italian dishes.
It hosts classes led by an actual Italian grandma who will cook you through any number of delicacies from pumpkin gnocchi to classic lasagna.
Couples can get a surprise evening with a service such as Date Box Club that does the planning for you.
Thank you for coming on such short notice.
Or team up with your partner in crime to solve a mystery with an experience called Hunt a Killer.
It sends you a box filled with clues like autopsy reports and evidence and whatnot that you can use to kind of try and solve this narrative that the box is telling.
Whether it's a murder case or a meal, the key to a romantic evening is your full attention.
Turn off the notifications, turn off your cell phone.
Giving your Valentine the gift of being present. Liz McLaughlin, NBC News.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.